Hello and welcome to Pest Perspectives episode 13. I've got the episode number right this week. I have. This week we have got on Mark Mosley from PestGone Environmental Limited. I'm going to give a little spiel here off his book. There. Okay. So, Mark Mosley is the founder of PestGone Environmental Limited, a London-based pest control company. Before becoming an expert in pest control, he was a soldier and security specialist operating in remote, hostile environments around the world. He has carried out pest control for celebrities and members of the royal family, as well as in some of the most deprived areas of London. No pests ever beat him. And he's been on the Apprentice to week 8, Apprentice 2023.
Yeah, that's it. Just about. I made it to week 8.
You made it there. But yeah, we will bring that up later, but I nicked a little bit. I nicked a bit of that intro from your book. Very good book. Took me a long time. I'm a procrastinator. I will make a post about how good it is. When you get like a magazine, a little article, I'll read it straight away. But been reading it for a while. But with books, I'm terrible. Audio book, Mark. Come on.
I know. Yeah, the thing is, it was a difficult one because when I was doing the book, it was meant to come out in 2022. The book, and then I got told I was on the show, and the press people on the show said just release it when you get fired because they knew when I was going to get fired. So I did then, but it's hard balance because if you get a pest controller read the book, they'll be like, "Oh, I wouldn't do it like that. I'd do it like this. I wouldn't use that poison." And it's more for the public to sort of generalize of how to do things rather than having a professional read the book. So, yeah, I've had a few professionals come back. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I wanted a few military stories were all right in there, but it goes a bit too much in depth sometimes for the general public for the pest control. But like I say, it's meant for the public, not for professional pest controllers to nitpick at.
Oh, yeah. Well, I couldn't nitpick. I picked up some tips there.
Oh, good.
So there's some pests I don't deal with, you see, hardly ever, you see.
Yeah.
So.
It is funny how where you did different parts of the country. I mean, I was in sort of up in Hertfordshire recently, and then someone said to me, "Oh, do you deal with gliss?" And I was like, "No." And then they're talking about gliss, and I know how to deal with them, but it's just strange that we do work in North London, but as soon as you go into Hertfordshire, that's when you start getting the gliss. So yeah.
See here, I've never dealt with cockroaches, believe it or not, here in Rutland. No? Never, not even in Stamford. I've never, or we're not getting the calls. But in the whole time my dad had the company, we were running it 15 plus years. He's never had a booking for cockroaches.
Madness. I mean, I'd
love to do one for experience. Yeah.
Well, I mean, today we had a council call up and said they want us to do 20 bird flats in one block today. So we're going to go and do that next week in Croydon. But yeah, it seems to be sort of more seasonal as well. I mean, German cockroaches, people, I've got to be careful what I say, but people go away to Africa, they go away to see family, friends, and when they come back, they bring back this like mashed potato, this food like plantation or whatever it is. And when they bring that back, it's got cockroach eggs in, it's got the UTKs in. So we get this huge explosion when people are coming back from Africa in these council blocks. So it's great for us. But so there's obviously they're just sort of transporting in the foods and things. But yeah, I've only ever dealt with American cockroaches once in
that wouldn't roll in Australia. Australia don't let you bring nothing in whatsoever. No, I watch them programs. They don't let you bring sweets in. Nothing.
Oh yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah,
you're destroying our food industry. Is what they say. You're destroying our food industry. That's what they say.
Yeah, well, to be fair, it keeps me in business. They keep bringing in food.
So. No, fair play. Fair play. So obviously, I'm going to ask the question: how did you get into pest control? Because not everyone has read this book, so it's not going to be obvious. Because it's obviously you had a military background first, and some of them missions, mate, you're a tough bloke. You're strong-willed. Some of the situations you were in. Frightening.
Hairy situations. I think, I don't know. And then sometimes you sort of sit around in London and it's a bit dull sometimes. But no, I got into pest control. I was working out so I was a soldier for 9 years, and then I left that after 9 years in the army, and then I went traveling around the world, and I went to go and see some nicer parts, because I spent quite a time in Afghanistan when I was in the army. So nicer parts in the world. Went for 2 years, then came back, and I worked in private security. I say private security, I wasn't sort of protecting people. I was building watchtowers out in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. I was in the Four Seasons Hotel putting in new windows and things for the United Nations, all these places. And it all came to an end. The American pulled the budgets in about 2015, so there was no more money for the security side of things. And I came back to London, and I was an electrician for a bit on a construction site, and someone nicked my tools in the first week. So I was pretty threaders about that. And then a mate of mine, I was in the army with, he's a firefighter at Heathrow. He owns Combat Pest Control, Mike Coates. And he said to me, look, I do pest control on my days off. Do you have a go? Come and have a go with me. So I worked with him for about 6 to 8 months. And I realized it's quite lucrative. It's not too, stressful, if you like. And it's fairly basic, and it's a bit of a challenge trying to outsmart a rat, let's say. So, and I enjoyed it. And more importantly, the money was there as well. So I thought, right, I'll start my own business in 2017. And that was it, just because a friend was doing it. And his brother does it. He's Gary Coates owns West London Pest Control. And now there's about 5 or 6 ex-Royal Engineers who are doing pest control across the UK. So, yes, it seems to be sort of something the military guys go into afterwards. But that's how I ended up in pest control, from, the military and then private security, speaking to a mate. And then he said, look, come and give it a go doing pest control.
That's fair. So were you working for your mate for a bit before you decided to actually set up business?
Yeah, so I worked as a franchisee for him for about a year, Combat Pest Control. And then after that, he said, look, do you want to carry on with us? And I said, you know what, because they're over in West London and Northwest London, I said, I might just break away and just go on my own. We was all amicable, and we all left as friends, and we still speak most days and things. So, we're still good friends. And any jobs that I get now that are in Northwest London, I'll just pass straight to them. I just, I had a job the other day, which up in Essex way, Ilford. And I just said, look, call the Combat Pest Control guys. They'll cover it. So, I passed a lot of jobs with them.
Oh, that's nice, because we pass jobs on. It's like we don't do bee removal. So I've got a mate called Elliot at EM Pest Control. And if any bee removal jobs come in, we pass it over to him. We do.
Yeah. That's it. Same as there's another one, Kelly Farron. He's ex-Royal Engineer.
Yes, I know.
He's in Kent, so he's good mates with Gary Coates, who owns Western London Pest Control. And I think Gary got him into pest control, and he does a lot of bee removal. So anytime I hear bee removal, I just pass them straight. I just say, give this guy a call, because I don't want to be knocking out bricks trying to find the queen and things. So I wouldn't have a clue where to start.
That's fair. I don't want to do that either. Not for me. But there's a lot of people that do it. There is.
I'd probably take a brick out and the house would fall down, and I'd be like, oh, here we go.
Oh yeah, you're right there. But yeah, so was it previous to setting up your pest control business? Had you ever owned any kind of business in your life? Run a business?
No, it was all done through necessity. People always say about being an entrepreneur and all this good stuff, and it doesn't really. You don't sit down and go, right, that's it, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to be. Because I never class myself as an entrepreneur or whatever else. It's just something that doesn't even enter my head. It's done out of pure necessity. You need to earn money, and you think, I don't want to work for anyone else. I've got a bit of capital behind me to sort of buy a van and buy the equipment. So you think, well, do you know what? Sod it. I'll just go into it. I register a company, and before you know it, it sort of starts snowballing. And then next thing you know, you're a business owner trying to sort of spin as many plates as you can. From learning how to do accounting, I learned how to build a website. So I went on to YouTube. So my website that I've got at the moment is what I've built.
Oh, okay. That's really good. Yeah, that's impressive.
It's one of these things you just got to learn. Plus, you're trying to save money at the time. I think someone wanted $3,000 to build me a website. So I thought, you know what, I'll do it myself. So I did it all through WordPress. And and then I learned how to set up like all Google advertising. So Google Guarantees, obviously the newer one, but yeah, PPC, pay-per-click. I just learned how it all works, and then I sort of learned how to sort of. It's quite easy, to be fair. I want to target Battersea, and it'd be Battersea Pest Control, or whatever it would be, and I learned all that. So now, obviously, I didn't have to pay someone a monthly fee of £100 to £600 a month to run our ad campaigns. I can just now go into our ad campaign, switch it on, switch it off whenever I want. So again, I've learned how to build a website, learned how to run or set up pay-per-click ads on Google, and then just run it myself. So but that was it really. So it's just trying to save money where I could when I first started.
I can tell you now, I don't think there's many pest controllers that built their own websites.
Yeah,
I think you're one of the few, I reckon.
Yeah, I think there's a few out there now. Well, I think Wix, people were telling me if you go on Wix, it's quite an easier way. But I went the long way around and thought I spent weeks learning how to do it on WordPress and things. So it took me a long while. But, so the only thing I couldn't do, I wanted someone to be able to, when you put in your someone's postcode, it would bring up a page just specifically for them. Do you know what I mean? Like if you lived in Chelsea and they put in SW3, the Chelsea pest control page would come up. There was the only thing I could build the pages, but I couldn't do the coding to do that. So I paid a guy £100 and he did all the coding for me. But
you're doing well.
That was it.
You're doing well there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it was a lot of stress, and the computer went out the window a few times when I couldn't get it working. But then once it started working, I was well happy with life.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah, but at the minute, I'd say Google Guarantees the best route. But I don't think there's much in pay-per-click. I might be wrong, but we do quite well out of repeat business, word of mouth, social media, and Google Guaranteed. It seems to be quite good.
Yeah, and Google Guaranteed, they seem to be a lot cheaper as well, because pay-per-click, I mean, I was paying up to £15 a click sometimes, and if they didn't obviously call you,
especially in the summer with the wasps, they used to put the price up, didn't they?
I mean, it's always been between 7 and 15, but I remember 1 month, because I'd taken on a few guys, and now it's sort of, I'm panicking. I'm thinking I've got to get work in for these guys, but I've got to pay them at the end of the month. And I think 1 month we spent over £10,000 on pay-per-click, and it was just like horrendous. But then now I look back on it, them customers, because we did a good job. Well, I think we did a good job. They've come back in droves, and now we don't obviously have to pay for them in the future. So that's what it's all about. So we get a lot of repeat business, and say the only thing we use now is Google Guarantee, and it's about £4 a click, I think. So I think that's what
you only pay if they actually call you.
Yeah, because they've got a different number. Because I've had it a few times where people go, "Is that not your number then?" And I'm just looking and I go, "That's a Google number," so they can register that they've called you.
Yeah, that's because someone got really funny with us once and said, "Well, why are you using dodgy numbers?" We're not. It's a Google number, so they know the charges for your call.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but she wasn't convinced. She thought we were dodgy. I was like, "It's Google Guaranteed."
That's exactly it. So best way to So I get it the same, because Checker Trade was in the same thing. And are you still on Checker Trade, or do you do Checker Trade?
We tried it for about 6 months, and what annoyed me, not now, because I believe there's other pest controls on it, but at the time, a couple of years ago, I think we were the only pest control company. Like obviously we're in Rutland, around that area for 70 miles, and they kept saying to us, we kept going, well, why haven't we got no work out of it? Oh, well, you need to do more reviews. But I says, I've had no Checker Trade customers. But I says, the algorithm needs it. But the guy won't listen. But I says, we're the only pest firm for 70 miles. We should be flashing straight at the top. Oh, that's not how it works. But we left. We never got no joy. Some people get joy out of it, but we haven't really. It was a failed project, but we tried it. We did.
That's the best. We used to be great. It really did used to be great. And then 3 years ago, or maybe before the pandemic, I know it's the sort of time frame everyone uses. It went downhill, and I only found out recently that the company HomeServe, I think they're called, they bought them out. So HomeServe, they're now taking all the jobs for themselves, and everyone else is paying this subscription fee and not getting anything for it. So we don't get anything from Checker Trade anymore.
That's very interesting, because there's some posts come out about Checker Trade have got their own service now, and they're trying to stubby work out to pest controllers and take a cut.
Yeah, well, whatever they've done,
They've done something. Yeah,
they've really ruined it. Well, I've tried to cancel, but they wouldn't let me leave. They were like, "You're tied in for this long," and then they said, "Well, you can keep all your reviews on there, and you can be a presence on there, but you've got to pay £30 a month until the cancellation fee." And I mean, I had a big argument with this woman. So yeah, I've got to pay £30 a month instead of £100, but we don't get any work from it anyway because whoever it is, HomeServe, take all the business for themselves, or have obviously in partnership with other pest controllers. So yeah, avoid Checker Trade. That'd be my advice.
Avoid Able.
Yeah, right. They'll probably come out if they watch this. They'll be after us or after me.
I doubt it. I doubt they even care. I doubt
making too much
this
money.
This podcast isn't that famous. The Checker Trade was watching it. I think they got mentioned. You know,
someone will send it to them. That'll be it.
Who knows? But what else we got? So, how did you go from, because you've got a few technicians? How did you go from you to taking on more blokes? More? How did that work? Did you just want to grow a little bit, or?
Yeah, I went on to a job. This customer had booked 2 companies. One being quite a big player. In the industry, and I think they just sold to Virgo not so long back, and then me, and then I met this guy there, and I said, "Look, do you want to come in and sort of join the business together and sort of pay half the money and things?" It was about 2017, and he said yes, and he had a friend who he could bring in from the same company, and then there was another friend, and then before you know it, I'd put ads out on the usual whatever recruitment companies, and then before we know it, there was about 9 of us, and we had one person in the office, and it was great, but it was just a lot of headaches. I mean, God, people would go sick on a day, and then one lad tried to bypass the tracker because he was using the van in the evenings, and it was just the headaches. You've got this sort of thing going on, and it just got so stressful in the end that I thought, right, I'm winding it down as to only sort of a handful of people, because and got rid of some of the riffraff. It just got too much. And it not sort of putting too much down on other pest controllers, but the team we've got now, good guys, do a good job. I mean, I had one lad who crashed the van really badly, 2 vans in the space of 3 weeks, and our insurance premiums went up through the roof. The companies wanted.
I bet it's bad anyway. Were you being based in London?
Well, because we had the van crashed twice in 3 weeks, and one was written off. The insurance company wanted £10,000 a year per van, and I was like, "How are we going to get a fleet policy?" We had 4 vans. I said, "How are we going to? So we got to pay £40,000 a year for 4 vans." I said, "This is absolutely crazy." So I worked my way around it. I tried to do my best, and I put all the vans in my name under sort of my own policy, and then it worked out a couple of thousand a van instead of 10,000. So I took off the fleet policy. But what an absolute headache that was. But people don't give, lads don't care. It's not their van. They'll just smash it up and go, right, thanks very much. It's not their equipment. Right, I need a new sprayer. I need a new wasp wand, or whatever it is. And you just think, whereas when you're on your own, you look after your equipment, you take care of it, you clean the van, you wash, clean the inside of the van. So but that was a big thing. But also, I had every van I've ever owned. Every van's ever been broken into in London. It's rife. So I get vans broken into every year as well. But luckily, because we're a pest control company, we don't have too much expensive equipment. But I did have, when my van got broken into, I had all my power tools nicked, air rifle nicked.
Oh goodness, an air rifle.
I had that. Well, they nicked me. They nicked my wasp sprayer as well, and I thought, what the hell are they going to do with a load of bloody,
What did you have to? Because they nicked your gun. Did the police say why was that left in there overnight or something? Did they say?
No, it's an air rifle. I think anyone can really have it. You can buy an air rifle. It's not it's not a shotgun or anything. So, but it was just I shouldn't really put the police down too much, but I had my car keys my van keys on my desk, which my van was sort of about 20 meters away, and the police turned up in the morning, And I've gone to my van, and I just looked in the front seat, and all of the stuff underneath the seat should be there, all my folders and things was on top, and I was like, my heart just went. So I opened up the back of the door, and then all of my tools, everything was gone. And then I called the police, and they go, "Do you want us to send a couple of officers?" I said, "Well, it would be lovely just to get a bit of support." And they sent these 2 officers, and this one guy's going, "I don't know how they've done it. There's no damage to the van. There's no holes in it." And I said, "Well, they've boosted the immobilizer, haven't they? That's what they got, like a laptop. I've just watched it on YouTube." And he went, "Can they do that? Can they?" And I was like, and I went, "You're the copper." I said, "You're the bloody police officer.
And you're telling me
you don't know." And it was rife in Liverpool at the time. There's lads there with like iPads or something, boosting the immobilizer to open up the Range Rover, whatever it was. So I was raging at this copper now. And I just said to him, "Look, do you know what? Just go. And I had enough." They actually left me my tool bag with the DeWalt torch. And I had a few jobs that morning, so at least I could use my DeWalt torch in a few loft spaces, and they didn't nick the trap. So I managed to get through it, but that was sort of heartbreaking. Just with, because I'd only been in business sort of less than a year, and it was just, sort of having £1,000 worth of equipment gone, and you just feel like, what's the point? And it's happening all the time in London. People are losing their livelihoods over these van thefts, and then you've got the police turning up talking about hate speech.
Yeah, it's like. I don't know if you watch it. I've never. You may know him. I watch a YouTube channel called Asheville Aggregates. Daniel Asheville, and he leaves his rate. And he said though in London, because he's got like a Range Rover thing with parking. Yeah, it's cheaper to park on double yellow lines and get the fine than it is to get parking to actually pay for your parking. That's what he does quite often. Just takes the fine because I don't think they give you points in London.
No, you won't give you points. You only get points for speeding. It's all to do with So,
but his van had been smashed. The back of his Range Rover, the back window had been smashed a few times when he left it. But the only event he never had like power tools or out in it. But there was one thing on his YouTube channel. There was a big protest, weren't there, a while ago, with all the tradies going into London, pipping their horn and all that. They covered that on the channel. They did.
Yeah, it was about a year ago, so they all did that. Which, I did see recently they've done quite a lot of raids at the car boot sales, and they're finding a lot of people's tools. As long as people have registered the serial number with whoever it is, DeWalt or whatever the power tools is, it's quite good. I remember one mate, he sprayed all his power tools pink, and he said, "Well, no one's ever going to nick pink power tools. So when they get, and they're so identifiable, so he just left all his tools pink." And he said never got nicked when his van got broken into. So
really, that's an interesting tip, everyone. Spray them pink.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. So at least then you can sort of identify them if they ever do come up with like pink power tools. But it's rife here. I mean, I've got 2 vans here with drill holes in the sides, the EMV Nissan 200s, and they just got drill holes where they've opened them up. And I used to always have a go at the lads because their vans were in, really poor state inside. I'm like, look at this, look, it's a tip.
Yeah.
And now I got to the stage when nothing ever gets nicked when they get broken into. And I think, do you know what? Leave them how you want. As long as the public don't see what they look like inside and they're clean on the outside, it doesn't bother me. Because if the thieves are looking in going, "Oh my God, I'm not going in there through them squirrel traps and all that lot. Shut the van up. There's nothing in here for us." So
it'd be interesting if one day you set a load, you left all the traps set in the van and they're in there pulling it. "Oh, put me on."
Oh, do you know what? When it happened, they came back 2 nights later to nick the van.
Okay.
So they've taken all the stuff out, and then on the Ford Transit Custom, if you didn't double lock it with the button, there's a little front window. So you got the driver's side window, the main window, and in front of that you've got another little window here. If you hadn't double locked it and you only single locked it, if you smashed that window, the alarm wouldn't go off. So anyway, I was sat there one night, and then I heard the alarm go outside, and my flatmate was like, "That's your alarm." So I looked out the window. Anyway, we were both outside, and they'd smashed that one window. So now I'm panicking because they wanted to nick the van as well. And then I thought to myself, there's something in the army called a flashbang. So basically, it's this huge flash and this huge bang. Like if you're walking or running in a military exercise and someone throws a flashbang, it just disorientates you. It makes you blind for a few seconds. You just, ears are ringing. So I thought I'd love to have tied that sort of the van. So when they opened up the van, it got to the point and then bang or something, or just, I don't know, I wouldn't say a claymore and kill them, but certainly something like to cover them all in, I don't know, a load of phosphorus stuff or whatever it will be. But that's what I was going to do. And I thought, you know what, I'll leave the back doors open. So when someone opens it next time, that'll go off. But I thought, no, do you know what would happen? The police would get me in trouble and say that I've caused injury or something. So,
I know. I know what a flashbang is because I've played Call of Duty, I've played Gears of War. I don't know about it in real life, like you, obviously.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I had one go off actually when I was on exercise when I was about 18 years of age, and I still get I don't want to go too much into it, but I get a ringing in my right ear, I get tinnitus in my right ear because of this one flashbang.
I got tinnitus.
Oh yeah.
I used to go raving, DJing years ago when I was younger, and because the music was that loud, I never used to wear earplugs.
Yeah.
But I don't really get tinnitus as much now. I can't really hear it, but it used to be really bad. But it's from the raving days.
Oh right.
When I was younger.
I'll go in somewhere anyway. All the sound in my right ear will just go completely silent, and it go and ring for about 2 minutes. And it's ever done that since the bloody flashbang went off. I'll get it probably 3 or 4 times a week, and I'll be like, right. So I'll probably have to go to the military and claim some money back off them at some stage. But all good stuff.
That's fair. Good evening, Jasmine. Thanks for popping in. That's nice. On over on LinkedIn. That's Jasmine from OptiCatch. I don't know. Do you use OptiCatch bulbs, or have you ever heard of Polytech Technologies? The ones that they coat the bulbs in shatterproof glass. That's our company. That is.
Oh, okay.
That is. But thought I'd say hello because I'm growing memento, but I don't seem to get a lot of people live. I get loads of people after, but it's probably because of the time I pick. It probably is.
People are getting to work, cooking up dinner, and then trying to sit down and watch a bit of TV at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, I'm still new compared to the Beauties and Beasties podcast. I am. So with your business, what's the most craziest thing you've had to remove? Because I've seen a post once from you, and you had to remove something and it was something dead in the. It's not a pest you killed. You had some kind of contract in place where you agreed to pick the dead animals up, but this was quite a big. Well, what was it again?
We had a conger eel. So we've got a contract with the Port of London Authority. They deal with the water all the way from sort of Gravesend down to sort of Chiswick way, and anything that dies and washes up on the foreshores, we have to go and get. We went and got a seal the other day in Chiswick. Everyone thought this seal was alive because its eyes were just open. But we went and got a seal. But we picked up porpoises as well. They're like small dolphins, and we picked up this porpoise, and it was like a tourist attraction. We got down there to Gravesend, and we thought we've got to try and get this to our van, and the van was about 200 meters away. And we tried using a canvas stretcher, like you'd take someone off the hills with, so like someone's got injured when you like him. Anyway, but that didn't really work, so we used our telescopic ladders, tied it to our telescopic ladders, and used that as a stretcher. Got this to the top of the van, and then we had to drive it to an incinerator in Essex. And this place in Essex, it's a farm, and the doors open. You get to this big farm. It's like and behind these doors was about 200 dead horses. They were gone out and collected all the horses for the day. And I won't go into too much detail how they're dealing with these horses, but oh my god. And we've got this bloody dolphin. I remember we'd wrapped the dolphin up, and I'm driving behind the van, and it's wrapped up in bin bags. And the bin bags have flapped loose now, and we're going down I think it was the A12, and this towel of the bloody dolphin, its porpoise, is flapping around, and there's people on the motorway going, "What on earth is that?" And I couldn't stop laughing driving behind it. But we took it to this incinerator yard. But we picked up conger eels. We get a dog, but we get a dead dog every 2 to 4 weeks. So they get killed in a fight. They use as fighting dogs. They throw them in the tent. And then seals, swans, cats, all sorts. I don't mind doing that. It's quite an interesting job. It's not the nicest.
How do you? Obviously, you say it's like a tourist attraction. how do you deal with the public? Because imagine they're all getting their phones out, and how do you deal with that situation? Because I can imagine you don't really want them to be watching you or because everyone gets their phone out now, don't they?
Yeah, I mean,
they think the animal's not dead yet, and you're saying it is. Look.
Oh no, yeah, they were with the seals the other week, and they were like, because I weren't sure, because they were going, we swear we see it move, and I sort of went down there, jumped down onto the foreshores, my wellies, my waders, and I was like, get a bit closer to it. There's no lacerations or marks on it, so you give it a little bit of a kick, and then you sort of get your hand on it and go, oh yeah, it is dead. But no, most of the times, like the dolphin, it had been dead a while because it stunk and it had a few like marks in it. But now you just sort of take charge of the situation, didn't you? Say, right, when we get over to it, me and another. So when we get over to it, what's the plan we're going to do? We're going to wrap it in bin bags. We're going to use plastic ties to get the bin bags all tight around it. We'll then get it on a telescopic ladder and use that as a stretcher. Hopefully that'll work. So then you just sort of get everyone out of the way. But yeah, I don't mind that with the phone, people's phones. I did have once. It was a Dreams bedding store in New Cross, and they said we've got a pigeon, and it was right on one of the I-beams, right at the top. And I said, right, I need everyone out of the Dreams bedding store because I'm going to shoot it because it had been crapping on all the beds. And they were like, well, we can't get everyone out of the store. There's about 100 people in here. And I said, what do you want me to do then? Yeah, I said, for health and safety, I said, I'm going to be shooting up there. I said, if it pings back down, I don't want anyone in this vicinity then. So everyone's over in this far side. Next thing you know, all the phones are up. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, please do not miss. Anyway, bang. And I smacked it with a pellet and it fell straight down onto this bed. And I was like, thank you very much. So, yeah, and I was expecting that video to go on social media and saying, oh, someone's murdered a pigeon. But no, thankfully, that never made it to the internet.
That's good then. That is.
Yeah.
Maybe there's people to this day still watching it on their phone. The day the guy.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, with the pigeon. But but these things, I just said, it was necessary because health and safety. The pigeon was flying around crapping on people as they were lying on beds testing them. And so but that was an interesting one. I didn't mind doing that. And luckily I managed to shoot it first time.
It's definitely interesting because with that, but that actual contract you've got with the water.
Yeah, poor London boy.
Yeah. Too many pest control firms do work like that. I'd say that's pretty unique, I would. Do many do stuff like that?
Well, they rang us up during the pandemic again. Everything seems to be during the pandemic. And they said we were using a company and we had a dead seal at the Tower of London. And instead of wrapping it up, two blokes had decided just to drag this dead seal down the sort of the pathway, all the brickwork next to the Tower of London, and it did not go down well. You can imagine with the public, phone calls were coming in. So they said, we've used this company, we're not happy. Is there what would you have done in that situation? And I explained that I would have used a canvas stretcher, wrapped it up in bags and all this stuff, and been as discreet as possible. And they were like, okay, could we mind if we give you a trial period? And we've never not been able to pick one up. I remember years ago they rang us up and said, we've got a porpoise. And a porpoise, actual size of a porpoise, is the biggest one is 6'6". So, whatever, about just over 2 meters. I turned up to this place down in where was it? Camden? No, it weren't Camden. It was over in East London anyway, Limekiln Dock. And this thing was about 4 meters long. And I was like, we've either got a record porpoise or this ain't a porpoise, because I can tell you now, this is not going in anyone's van. Anyway, it happened to be a baby minke. It was a baby minke whale that had washed in down the Thames. So they had to get a specialist company to get in, get a crane, get it out the crane. And also, whales, if they spend too long out of water dead, the gases build up in their stomach and they can explode. So I was speaking to the lads there, and they were like, we've got to stick it in an ISO container. Obviously, make sure the ISO container, he said, sometimes we pick these things up and time we get it back, bang, it's gone off in the ISO container. So it's, not a nice job, but I'm sure they got paid handsomely for it. But that was an interesting one when they said, can you come and collect this porpoise? And it ended up being a bloody whale.
That's crazy. That really is.
I don't mind them jobs. They're interesting. They're interesting ones are the fun ones.
No, it's definitely interesting, to be fair. I mean, it's It's not a thing we offer. There's no water like that near us, apart from Rutland water. But there's only fish in that.
But it just depends what. Yeah, I did a TV show. I did something called Steph's Pack Lunch, and they said, "Can you talk about these? Can you talk about these crabs? They're invading the waterways and all this lot." And I said, "We're pest controllers. We don't deal with bloody crabs." I said, "This comes down to death for the Department of Food and Environmental Affairs, and they deal with the waterways." And they went, "Oh, it all comes under the same bracket. Just read up on about these crabs." And then I was like, so at the end of the segment, they were like, "Mark, have you heard about these crabs?" And I'm going, "Yeah, they were found in the Thames back in the 19th century, and now they're invading the waterways and they're eating up fish eggs and all this lot." And I'm just making it up as I go along. And I'm thinking, if there's some expert there, he's going to be going, "What's he talking about, that lad?" But but yeah, anything. I don't know, anything interesting, anything out of the ordinary. I like going to. Even like, I don't know, we do. Don't know. Be careful what you say, but people like in council properties, they die and they're not found straight away. So they might sort of lie there for a couple of months, and then suddenly someone's gone round to check on them. And then we go and do the cleans afterwards. So you can see where the person's been, and there's a bit of fluid on the floor. And they say, right, just clear the whole place out. And I don't mind doing them. So it's just a bit sad when you've got to start throwing their jewelry away and, pictures, because they've got no family. But yeah, I've had some really good ones like that. So, well, I shouldn't say good ones, but interesting ones where you're clearing out these flats and things, and you sort of go from like not a nice environment to making it all nice and clean. You can see the fruits of your labour at the end of the day, if you like.
Oh,
so another interesting one.
Is that what they call biohazard cleaning?
We call them a biohazard clean as such. We go in with the hospital grade fluid and things and rip up the carpets and spray all this lot. I mean, I had it once. There was maggots coming through a ceiling in one place in Hammersmith, and I was thinking, what on earth has died up there? And I was like, they're coming through everywhere. Went to the flat upstairs anyway, and I thought there was something going on a bit, not too good. And it was a dead body. A girl had been murdered upstairs, and that all the maggots were coming through. So but I didn't see. They just called the police and everything. But all these maggots kept coming through. I was thinking, I don't know what is dead in the roof space, but it's either a massive rat. Well, it couldn't have been a rat. It was just ongoing, these maggots. So But again, you see all sorts in London.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, did you volunteer to do the crime scene cleanup?
To be fair, I didn't get the opportunity. I would have done. But I
know there's money in that as well. There is, apparently.
Yeah, I think I've heard of a company up in North London. They've done it before, where someone's killed themselves with a gun, and they've done the cleanup after that. And I wouldn't mind doing that. That would interest me, just because it's something different.
Yeah.
I think your screen's gone a bit funny, Shaun.
Yeah, give me a second. I'll come back in. Just hold tight.
No, you're all right. That's all right. Must be the internet, Rutland, is it?
I got 500 up, 500 down. I don't know what's going on. Believe it or not, I've got Virgin Media internet. I have.
Upmarket internet.
I have, yeah. This is annoying. I like being on video. Hold on.
I got a face for radio, so we'll both go incognito.
Right. Hold on a minute. Just gonna have to stay like this for the minute then.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll come back.
Yeah, I don't understand what's wrong with it, but yeah, that's through me. That's the bloody camera. It's not gone wrong in the oil. It hasn't, but
that's all right, mate. These things happen. I'm sure it'll come back in. But the dead body cleans is something we'll have to try and maybe speak to the police about and see if we get a contract for that. That'd be all right.
Hello.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know why the camera's not working, but we're going to have to. Sorry, carry on. Sorry about that.
No, you're all right, mate. No, so yeah, that was a bit. We'll try and get a contract maybe for the dead body cleans at some stage if the police need any more help with that. But yeah, but anything interesting jobs
Yeah.
other than bee removal, I don't mind sort of getting my hands dirty. I find them more interesting than going out sorting out Mrs. Smith's mice down the road. So yeah,
That's fair. That is, it's there's a
what's
lot
the
more.
most interesting jobs you do?
We just do your standard stuff like moles, squirrels, rats, mice, wasps, moths, bed bugs, fleas. What else? Carpet beetle.
We don't do moles. I don't think I've ever done a mole job.
Do you have grass? I don't think you have grass in London, do you?
not so much of it. But I've never seen a molehill in like the commons, like Clapham Common or Peckham White Park. So, but yeah, very rarely. Obviously, it's traps, but yeah, I wouldn't even know. Well, I know where to begin, but I wouldn't know the what to do so much. It wouldn't be. I'd have to have a read up on it beforehand.
Yeah, it's not that difficult. It's just a case of trying it. There's no real, it's just a case of trying it. Yeah. So we increased our business by doing mole control. Actually, I joined the British Mole Catchers Register as well. That's like a body that are like you can be in, and they advertise you on their site as well. And it's like makes you look more official if you do mole control. But we have increased business by doing mole control. But I didn't think you'd have mole control. To be fair, in London.
No, I mean, I grew up in Norfolk. I know my old man sort of sticks some traps in the molehills and catches a few now and then. But
that's literally it. You put the mole traps in, cover it over, put a little stick in. You don't stick and say they're nice coloured pieces of plastic you stick in the ground so you can see where your traps are, and that's basically it. You just come back. There's nothing too advanced. Traditional mole trapping.
Do you have to dig down and try and find the tunnels?
We've got like a dipper. There's like a dipper thing where you can dip it into the ground to find the tunnels.
Oh, okay.
It will go down. It will. You'll hear it, and you'll go, and you do it 4 times, and then you know you've got the tunnel, and you get in and then you feel for the tunnels. Yeah. And no, one hasn't come through to me when I'm feeling for the tunnels.
Yeah,
that's not happened. It ain't. Yeah. So, so what would obviously you're saying your favourite jobs are them kind of special jobs, but have you got a favourite type of pest that you love dealing with specifically, like I don't know, moths or something like that? Or
no, I mean, I think fleas. I used to not like doing fleas, but I find fleas being the easiest pest we treat now. I think they're quite easy once you use the right insecticides. They're fairly easy. I mean, squirrels are probably the easiest. The hardest thing with squirrels is obviously having to get the ladders up just to go and block the hole at the end if you can't do it from the inside. But I think the ones we like dealing with are the easy ones, really. So squirrels. Moths can be a bit of a pain in the backside because they're in people's clothing as well, and you tell them to freeze their clothing, and that can be a bit of a nightmare. But no, squirrels and fleas. I don't mind bed bugs either. I think bed bugs are fairly easy enough once you know where to look. So I don't. I've never had a. So I don't think I've ever had a job beat me. Like, I don't want to be sort of sound like a bit of a twat or anything, but moths is probably the one we get called back for occasionally. We've done a few for like some big sort of royal family people in their big estates, and they had moths coming down. There was 7 floors. There's a lift in there. It's a huge place. It is worth, I don't know. I read it was about £100 million, this place, plus.
Wow.
And and they had moths ongoing. So I eventually went up into the loft space, and this loft space is huge. And it was all wool insulation. So you think, blimey, it's just teeming with moths. And you pull back sort of this felt, and you can just see all the larvae just there. And I was like, oh my God. So I said to them that this is the situation we've got. You've got natural insulation made of wool, That's been infested. And they went, well, that was only put in 3 years ago. And I was like, well, that's what's happened in 3 years. And it's just a haven up there. And it's so warm as well. So they didn't want insecticides as such. So didn't mind me doing one fog to kill all the adults. And then after that, they didn't want to put more insecticides. So I started using that trichogramma, them small insects. So you put these small insects, which lay their eggs in the moth eggs. So they're like a little parasite. Well, parasite, but
is it parasitic wasps? Is that what they effectively are?
Yeah, that's it. Trichogramma parasitic wasps. So they lay 5 eggs into the moth egg, and then obviously 5 more. The larvae of that parasitic wasp will then sort of give maybe 5 wasps come out of that. Then they lay their eggs. Obviously, half will be boys, half will be girls, give or take. So I said it's going to take a while. I said this isn't an overnight fix. We'll kill all the adults. We'll keep sticking the moth monitors out.
Yeah.
And we'd near enough got it all sorted in the 7 floors. It was just this loft space, and they were using the riser cupboards and popping out the riser cupboards. We were sticking tape around the riser cupboards. And I think we did it for about a year, and they spent a lot of money with us on this, these parasitic wasps. And then the whatever society came in, what they called listed, they did look after listed buildings. And they said, what we're going to do, we're going to take out all the wool insulation and we're going to replace it with new fiberglass. And I said, well, you should have done this bloody year ago because, not that we're going to complain, but you'd have saved these royals a lot of money. Anyway, they did it. And about 6 months later, we got a call saying, we've still got a load of moths. So I went round there and they'd left some of the insulation. And not only that, what I'd put in my reports, all the curtains in there, these huge silk curtains all over the place.
Yeah.
They've got wool inside the silk, and all the moths are in there. And I said to them, you've got to either take these out and freeze it. Just freeze. They did these big, huge chest freezers and just freeze all the curtains. But they didn't do it anyway, and some of the insulation still left. So I've got to go around there next week. I've got to go around there and just go and do another survey and say, well, you've still got all this insulation, you've still not done the curtains. But that's another interesting one because, you go through all the security gates and you do all this stuff. It's quite fun. And, I don't mind doing all that, and you get to speak to a few of them. So, that's more interesting as well. So, and especially when you sort of said, you've got to do this and do that, and they don't do it, and then they call you back and you feel like going, I tell you.
Recommendations are there for a reason. That's what you pay for. Recommendations.
Exactly. So if they want to keep paying for us to come out, great. So, but that's quite an interesting job as well. So them ones, but yeah, I don't know, unusual ones. I got 2 weeks ago, the council asked me to go out in Lewisham.
Okay.
They wanted to chop a tree down, but they were worried there was bats in it. I was like, bats in a tree in Lewisham? They said, yeah, the neighbours are fighting to have this tree dropped down in this garden in a Lewisham council property, and they want someone to go out. And I said, well, I ain't a bat expert. And I said, but I can go out and have a look. And they said, can you just give us something? So the chances of there being a bat in a tree in Lewisham, I can tell you now, is slim to none.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got my telescopic ladders up, had a look. There was no hollows in the tree. I didn't start getting bloody, whatever tetoscopes out and all this lot testing the trees and all this stuff you're supposed to. And I just went back to him and said, look, I can't see any hollows in the tree. I can't see any nesting sites. There was no branches on it either. The tree company, the tree surgeons already chopped all the branches off. So it was just, the oak bit. Anyway, cut a long story short, I gave them that and then they chopped the tree down, but it didn't go down well with the neighbours. So, but that was never had a bat call out in all the years either.
Wow, we shouldn't go, should we?
No. So, exactly, we shouldn't. It's not our job to be. I said get a bat specialist, but I said I'll still go and do it and have a look.
Well, that's fair. I mean, and bat specialist that will cost you. Yeah.
Well, I know what to look for if it's in a loft space. The exoskeletons of their secretions or the defecations of the exoskeletons of insects. So they're crunchy rather than sort of like whatever mice droppings or whatever it'll be. But but I don't know. We don't get them in London, bats in people's homes and such. They're probably in the home counties more. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting to know. I did not know that. Okay.
But I've never in all the years, 10 years, never heard of anyone having bats in their homes in London. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but never heard of it, never seen it. But so it's got to be more home counties, I'm sure of it.
Oh, that's fair. Have you got any advice for people, say they wanted to set up their own pest control business, and any kind of advice you could give off your experience that you've got?
Any advice? I mean, I think pest control is one of the more, I don't know, inexpensive trades, if you like, to go into. So it's too costly. You can probably, if you're going to go into it, you've got to have a bit of a strong stomach, I would say. Be willing to not get your hands dirty. Be willing to get your hands dirty. Sorry, you can't be too shy. Unfortunately, you are going to come across maybe having to kill an animal with traps, or if someone says, you're going to be locked in a bathroom with a rat and it's you versus the rat, so going with a rubber mallet. But no, my advice would be, it's very inexpensive to get a van. It's sort of £300-400 a month maximum, and the courses aren't very expensive. I don't think. You can do like a tick test. My advice would be, if you're going to go into it, maybe work for a company for a minimum of 6 months, learn the ways, if you like, and then go off on your own. I wouldn't sort of just go into it without doing the job first, because if you don't like it and you've invested a load of money into equipment, vans, courses, and then a year down the line you don't like it, it's just been a bit of a waste. So I always say, if you are going to go into a business, you start a business, you have to give it 1,000 days. If you can give it 1,000 days, and at the end of that 1,000 days, you can't see that you're getting repeat business, there's not a need for your product or service, then you're probably not going to get anywhere. But if you are seeing repeat business, good word of mouth, there is a genuine need for your product or service, whatever business you go into, then you cracked it. And after that 1,000 day, the 3-year point, essentially, you should then start seeing the money start coming in. And then hopefully by year 8, you're in a very good position financially, not saying millionaires or anything, but certainly in a financial position to put down deposits for a house, have some savings and things like that. That's what I think and what I've seen through other people who've started businesses.
Oh no, that's some good advice. That is, yeah. I'm sure people will appreciate that, because, like, I'd never worked for another pest control company. You see, I just worked for my dad. You see, so I haven't had any experience working with any other firms or the nationals or anything. So I just went in through my dad. You see, I've never worked for anyone.
Your dad taught you, didn't he?
Well, yeah.
So that's it. So you had the opportunity to work. Yeah. So just starting blind.
I still do though. I still work with my dad every day.
Exactly. Yeah. So as long as one of you. So if you have a son or whatever, or someone
I've got a son.
They can work with you for 6 months or a year. And if they then want to break away, because that's what I did with my mate of mine who owns Combat Pest Control. I worked with him for 9 or 10 months, and then I was at that sort of crossroads. Do I carry on being a franchisee, or do I break away and do it myself? And I thought, well, the money's there, because that's the good thing about pest control. No one really knows what a lump of pest control costs. Do you know what I mean? Because the big boys, there's a bed bug job today in a 4-bedroom property. They rung up, be careful because I know the people, they rung up Pimlico Plumbers, and they got a bit of a quote which was quite eye-watering, and then they rung up us, and then I spoke to the lady today, and she was going, why is the price so different? And the husband wanted to pay this extortionate fee for them to come and do a 4-bedroom bedbug property, because they didn't want a pest control van outside the house, and Pimlico Plumbers, they think it was plumbers coming to treat the property, not pest controllers. And they said it's a reputable name, so we know they're not going to be done over. Someone's not going to do a poor job and things like this. And I was thinking, it's such a really sort of odd thing that, there's even like £1,000 discrepancy between my quote and the Pimlico Plumbers quote. And that's the thing. People don't know how much a lump of pest control costs. So if you're pretty good at the job, you can sort of start setting whatever you like within reason. And obviously in London, we've got, maybe where you are, you're going to have affluent areas like we have, Notting Hill, Chelsea, Kensington, the West London, where people have got money. And when you come to sort of some of the Badlands, maybe Lewisham, and, well, be careful what I say, because there are some nicer areas, but you're going to not have people aren't going to be so affluent, so you have to sort of balance the prices accordingly to what you think people can afford.
Well, that's fair. I mean, obviously, everyone thinks we're multi-millionaires here in Rutland. It's the reputation we've got. I can confirm that's not true. I'm not one of them.
Well, I'll go on Company's House later and have a look at your books.
Well, you won't find a millionaire. We're millionaires, but who knows? You never know. If only we're that big. But who knows? But
I think it must be more harder out in the countryside. Because I mean, pest controllers in London. Obviously, the more people there are, the more food waste there is.
Well,
pests.
It's why we cover a wider area. So we don't just cover Rutland. We cover Stamford, Bourne, Lincolnshire, into Corby. So we cover like a 20, 25 mile, maybe 30 mile radius of Oakham, Rutland. Yeah. Okay. So we wouldn't have a business otherwise. If it was purely Rutland, we wouldn't have a business.
No, well, I always think like going back to Norfolk and started a pest control company. It wouldn't be so bad because obviously Norwich is the big city in Norfolk. But I just think, just working out in the rural sites would be quite difficult. Whereas I think, Rent-A-Kill were buying up loads of companies a few years ago, and when they were hitting countries like Paraguay and things, and they were just going to the major cities in these places, like the capital cities, and buying companies there just to get their foot in the door in these locations. Because you've got to go to, the big cities or bigger towns and things where you're going to get pests, because you're only going to have farms. Doing rats on farms all the time would probably farmers, although they aren't a bit under it at the moment anyway with costs and things, so they probably don't want to be spending extortionate amount on pest control.
To get on with farmers, you really need to have been a farmer. I'll be honest, I don't get on with farmers that well when I do pest control. No. You need to know how to speak to a farmer, because they won't trust you to start with. So it's in pest control, I would call it an art, getting on with big farmers. No wrong with them. It's just you need to know how to get on with them, how to speak to them. You do.
I think that's most customers, actually. I
mean, that's true, to be fair, but I'd say that's a little bit more awkward, I would say. But some people get on with them really well. They do. It depends on the farmer. But it is. But they like more people that grew up on farms, and if you talk to them, they're more trusting, if you get what I mean. I understand why they're not trusting. Some of them can be, obviously.
I think farmers, they probably a bit more of a secluded lifestyle, didn't grow up in a city, probably didn't go to university and have, social skills, because that would be probably a bit bad on them, but I didn't go to university. But not been around people too much, so very cautious. But where I grew up in Norfolk, there's a lot of farmers, and I can understand why people are a bit more cautious. But but in the pest control world, I think you sort of not only pest controllers, you sometimes sort of have to turn into counsellors and things. I mean, even only on Friday, it was a bit of a difficult customer, and my lads had said, we can't, we're not dealing with it anymore. So I went round there, and she was, adamant she's got bed bugs. So I've searched it properly. There's no evidence of any fecal matter. There's no sheds of skin. There's nothing. She's had a few bites. And then she just started screaming at me, going, I am so angry that you won't treat my property. These things are biting me while I'm in the shower. And I said, what do you mean they're biting you in the shower? She goes, I can feel them physically biting me in the shower. I said, well, they can't be biting you in the shower, because they're usually called bed bugs for a reason. They should be around the bed most of the time. You might be able to transport them on clothes, but they shouldn't still be on you. And I said, you'll be able to see them. And then she slammed her hand down the table and she went, are you stupid? You cannot see bed bugs. And I was
right.
I thought, oh God, here we go. So then you got to try and be as polite as possible, because you're in someone's home at the end of the day, and you're trying to sort of placate them as much as possible. And so in the end, I made a sharp exit as best I can. I said, look, there's nothing here for us to treat. We've carried out, a free survey. If you do come across bed bugs, then great, let us know and we'll come back. But at this moment in time, you've not got bed bugs. Anyway, she wouldn't show me the door. She didn't say goodbye. She just said to me, so you're not going to just spray my whole house? And I was like, oh my God. I said, no, we're not going to spray the whole house.
That's even worse though, isn't it? I've seen cases where we've been called, and like you honestly can't see anything, and then you've done, sometimes, because you got to make we charge a little call out fee, because you've got to cover your fuel and that, and we've actually said you haven't got anything.
Yeah.
Then we got a call later saying, "Well, you're a charlatan." And we went, why are we a charlatan? We didn't treat you. There's no issue. We just charge you a small, survey fee. He says, if I was a charlatan, could have charged you for the whole amount and took your money, but we didn't. Like, we're not allowed to.
Exactly.
But
that's the hardest thing.
That was a serious case, though, of delusional parasitosis. It was, but it's not nice to see, because they say to you, you can see them crawling all over my face, couldn't you? I said, I can't.
Yeah.
You got to be you got to be careful. We're not trained for this, are we? To have to talk to them. You just got to learn it on the job, haven't you? To be nice.
No, you've got companies out there who will just go, yeah, do you know what? I think there is something here, and they'll make up something. I know one company did a heat treatment not so long back, and there was nothing there. And they showed me the girl had actually kept something in a test tube. What they said was a bed bug, and it was a stone. And I was like, you paid a few £1,000s in Clerkenwell in central London for a heat treatment for this stone. And you think, Christ almighty, they were having a field day. So you think, Wes, and she was happy to do that because, they've said, yes, you've got something in, as a stone. I mean, I've got a customer at the moment. He's an elderly gentleman with Alzheimer's. And he rings up every day and he says, Mark, you need to get round here. There's rats. They're making noises in the bedroom. They're making... I always say to them that if there's something here trapped, it's going to cause a lot of mess, and it'll be, being destructive because there's no food in here. It's like a concrete room as well. He's never had any problems. So I just say, look, we'll leave a little bit of peanut butter down on a waterproof card that we have. Let's see if it goes. And then a week later, it's still not been touched. And I say to him, look, if there's something here, it's starving because it can't get out of this room. And he's barricaded it with bricks and everything else. And you feel so sorry for the man, because he's in his 80s. He's certainly got Alzheimer's or something's on set, because he's got notes up around the house of which way to go, and he's just so paranoid. And he calls about 2 or 3 times a day. And as you say, you're not trained to deal with this sort of people, and you don't want to be that person to go, have you spoken to your GP at all? Because then they it upsets them. So yes, and at the same time, you don't want to be an arsehole and say, look, we can't keep coming round because there's nothing there. On the other hand, you think we can't keep coming round because you're a half-hour drive away to get there, 20 minutes to try and calm the person down, half-hour back, and we're not charging anything for this because we've got him under a set warranty of sort of 6 months because we told him there's no rats in the house. So yes, it is a hard one, but
I've never heard of that before. What you just said. I've never heard of someone thinking they've got rats when they haven't. I've only heard of it in regards to insects. That's quite interesting.
Well, he hears noises, and not that I'm going to give his name, but
don't do that.
No, he puts things on the side, like he might spill a bit of water, and he says there's rat urine all over my kitchen units. And you get, I've gone round there before, and there's no more that. He said, oh, it's dried up now. And then he'll take a picture of it and say, send it through. And basically, it's like a round circle where he's put his coffee mug there, and he's washed it up, and there's a round circle, and then he's taken it away, and he's taken a picture of it, going, look, it's a rat urine. You say, well, it's a coffee mug stain where you've washed your coffee mug up. So, but bless him, you're sort of fighting against that. So I've got to go around tomorrow afternoon. I said, look, I promise you I'll be around there tomorrow to have a look, just to calm him down again, because he's not crying, but he's really scared down the phone that he's got rats living in one of the rooms, or they're in the kitchen and things, and they're not. So but no, it's only ever happened to me twice, the rat one. But the insect ones is quite big, where people think there's something on them when they're sleeping at night, or feel this fabric, I'm sure there's something living in this fabric.
See, like with the bed bug one you mentioned, like Google's a great tool. You can learn how bed bugs bite you, but for the most part, people can't. It's when you're asleep, people can't feel the bite, can they? Because because they what's the term?
They inject an anticoagulant in you to stop the blood clotting.
That's it, but you can't feel it anyway.
No, it's such a small thing. It's like a mosquito. You don't really feel a mosquito bite, and once they put the anticoagulant, it numbs the area. And
that's what I meant. Yeah. So,
yeah. So
but Google is there. But then again, with Google as well, if she puts in you can't see bed bugs, there'll be loads of sites telling you, you can't see bed bugs.
That's the thing with Google. It doesn't give you a true reflection or the true answer because there's so much discrepancy with what they're putting in. But yeah, Google, even if I typed in, I've got a bit of a sore head, Google might tell me that I've got a brain tumor, and then you start panicking and you can't sleep and you think, right, I need to go and get a CT scan or something. But yeah, so but anyway, I showed the lady at the bed bugs. I went, look, this is the job I was at yesterday, or one of my guys was at, and there's the bed bugs, and she's going. But she won't have it. She's got it so dead set in her mind. Anyway, I got shouted at, and I left the property. And she was screaming that she wanted me to fumigate the property. And I said, well, I can't fumigate. Fumigation is not great for bed bugs. Plus, we don't use fumigate. We fog, insecticide fogging, but we don't use that for bed bugs either. It's got to be a wet insecticide. But yeah, I didn't want to go into too many technicalities because she was not best pleased with me. So but that's it really. So but yeah, the pest control world. Other than I don't mind dealing with the pests, but it's the people that's the most difficult. So
it is a big learning point. It's like when I first joined the firm, I couldn't speak to customers. I didn't know how to. It took me quite a long time. Now, can't stop me talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not a skill that if you work for a national, they teach you in how to talk to people, I believe. But the average pest control course, they don't teach you how to talk to the customers. It's just how to do the job, isn't it? It is.
Well, once if you're knowledgeable on the subject you're there to do, it's great. You can talk about that. But I always try and be a bit more jovial and a bit more funny. Even just turning up, like, how are we getting on today? You all right? And then once you get into that conversation, or we just got back from holiday, and I go, oh, anywhere nice? And then they tell you a bit about their holiday. So you try and get on that little bit of a friendlier term straight away. So I always think, even when I'm selling a job, I always think the best thing to do is ask questions. If you ask more questions, you ask them, the more chance they are. So you're going to win the job. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, where are you getting the bites on your body? Your upper torso, legs. Oh yeah, we're getting bitten around the ankles all the time. Do you have a pet? Oh yeah, we've got a cat. Or it's going to be fleas or whatever it is. The more questions you ask, the more they trust you, and then seem to always win the job. Whereas if you just sort of say, oh, you're getting bites. Oh, it could be anything. Right, the cost is this. And they'll go away and not come back. So, it's best to be interested and ask questions. But even when you're face to face, I try and be a bit more jovial, make a few jokes or whatever else within reason, and then go from there, really.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is. I don't always. Sometimes they don't ask about the job. I just tell them what's happened, and then I say I've sent you paperwork. It's all digital now. We use. And I said we'll be back next week, but because some people actually tell you, because like I've had some customers where if I've got rats, could you tell me that I've got mice? What do you mean? This is I've had a part said just tell her she's got mice. She's terrified of rats. I said, like, you asking me to lie? Well, yeah, she'll feel better. I was like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? She says she'll freak out. I'll just say you've got rodents. There you go.
Yeah, that's it. You're probably best. Yeah, you don't want to start lying and you get yourself into it, buddy. Yeah, as long as you send in a report at the end of the day with the true information on.
Right, it's all on there, yeah. But go
on.
No, it's I always put it on that, obviously. But I've had people say, "Can you just tell the wife it's mice, not rats?" I was like, I don't like lying.
Yeah.
And then I go, I just say, you've got rats. Oh, yeah. I said, well, I don't like to lie. You know what I mean? You're not supposed to lie about something, are you? Really? You're meant to be professional.
As long as you've got it on as long as you've got it on paperwork, that's the main thing. So yeah. But yeah. What was I say? I had some bloke take me to court the other week. Solicitor took me to court because he sold a house and we'd recommended taking a bit of his kitchen out to block a hole up, and he tried to sue me for GDRP or GDPR because the new tenants or the new homeowners wanted to basically have the reports of the report that mentioned having the hole blocked up, which we did. We didn't give them any information, and yeah, so he took us to court saying we broke GDPR, but the judge awarded everything to us anyway.
Well done. I did see that on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
because most pest firms would just bow over, wouldn't they, and not fight it?
Well, he wanted 1,200 quid.
Right.
So yeah, he wanted 1,200 quid and offered him 500 quid to go away. Anyway, so I had to go to Weymouth Crown Court, and yeah, I managed to win the argument. But I got up at 4 a.m. to drive all the way down there, so it was a pain in the backside. But anyway, I won the case. That was the main thing.
That's all that matters. It proves that your reporting and what you provided was adequate to not break the rules.
Yeah, just give me 2 seconds. I just need to drop something off to someone. 2 seconds.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for joining in, everyone, and watching. If you're watching back on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, my camera has gone off. I don't know why, but Mark's happy for me to carry on without a camera on. So that was nice of him.
Sorry, yes, someone had to pick something up from my flat. So yes.
No, that's fine. That is. But so what do you think is going to be the future of pest management? Like we say the next from now to like next 5 years or to within the future. It's ever evolving, isn't it? It is.
Yeah, I mean, there was something. I was in a meeting the other day, a bit of a veterans. Look, I'm in a veteran committee, and they're trying to get veterans or service leavers into jobs and things. And someone mentioned AI jobs, and there's a website that you can type in, "Will AI take my job?" And it was like accountancy. It says 91% chance that AI in the next 10 years is going to take your job. And I typed in pest control, and it was something like 4% chance of AI taking your jobs. You think, well, that's great, because at least in our industry, no one's ever going to be able to take that away from us. So, well, not a computer or technology. So that's the good thing. But the future of pest control, I think the biggest concern would be the restrictions that are going to keep coming in on the insecticides that we use. Sort of Firecam D has been taken away from us. We had, Goliath gel was fantastic for cockroaches, and I believe it was found in a couple of eggs, I think, in a farm, and that's why it was taken off, because fipronil was found in some eggs. But the worst thing is that we're just going to be left with the mouse trap and a bit of cheese at the end of the day. With all the restrictions.
I would hope that don't happen, but
yeah, we fingers crossed. But I think there's just quite a lot of restrictions, and the way the world's going a little bit. It's making our life a bit more difficult, but it's not. Maybe we've got to be a bit more intuitive, but yes. But I think the pest control world is good. That's why you've got these, these firms buying up pest control companies left, right, and centre, like Virgo. How many companies have Virgo bought up recently?
They've bought up loads, haven't they?
Yeah,
they have.
I think Rentokil would be doing the same if they were allowed to, but I think they're under some restrictions because they bought up too many and they're not allowed to hold too much of the pie. So people see it as a profitable business. I actually spoke to an American guy a few years back, about 4 years ago, when I was climbing a mountain, and he was an investment guy, and he said him and his firm were starting to invest in things like pest control. He goes, we're investing in companies such as plumbing companies, electrical companies, pest control companies, because we see that there's just a trajectory all the way of steady profits constantly. It doesn't fluctuate up and down. We're having a good year, bad year, but it just seems to be a continual gradual growth. So it's a good investment opportunity. So the pest control, in my opinion, I think it's, I think it's lucrative in the industry itself. And I think it's got, a long longevity even. So we're going to be good. I know it. As long as you're good at what you do, you can handle the customers. So I think we're laughing.
That's a good view. I think that over time digital will come into play more, with like digital monitoring boxes as well, because I'm currently doing a trial with Syngenta through the MPTA, where I'm actually doing digital monitoring as well. So quite fun it is, but it's something I'm trying, because how I am on LinkedIn. I said that digital monitoring will never work for small businesses, and MPTA's seen it. And now they wanted me to sign up to see what I actually thought of it from the small business perspective.
Bit of a guinea pig.
Yes, but it's fun. It's something different. It is,
I think technology has got a part to play in the industry. It's just I don't think the technology's there yet. If you like, you know what I mean. Like electric cars, people like 5 years ago would say, "Oh, the technology in electric cars isn't quite there," and I think now it's near enough there. Do you know what I mean? With electric vehicles, the charging points, the infrastructure's all been built. Whereas I think pest control, it's just sort of been on the back burner a little bit. And I've seen the Rent-A-Kill, is it the CO2 canisters, which send off a signal that there's an animal in there. But, you know, one of the lads who used to work for me, he was Rent-A-Kill, and he used to say, we'd get called out to these bloody monitors, and someone had kicked him, or someone had sort of there'd been a power trip, and some of them had gone off and things like this, and so they weren't reliable enough. And the last thing you want to be doing is making, you know, call outs, false call outs, and it's just a waste of money if it's just because someone's kicked one of your boxes. Do you know what I mean? So it needs to be a bit more sturdier.
Yeah, I think you could have like a favourite camera in the business, even though it's not a pest control camera, is the Reolink cameras.
Yeah.
You could put a Reolink up with them. And I think that they were talking about in the Beauties and Beasties that you could get a camera, but the AI, it's not a security camera. It's AI knows exactly what rodent or animal is nearby, and it will hone in on it once it sees it. That may be part of the future as well. Not saying not every job, but it will be a tool. I used it once for Reolinks where, well, we thought it, obviously the client thought it was mice, and I stuck the Reolink up and it were birds.
Oh, right.
It was. Yeah, so obviously, but yeah, it confirmed it.
But how expensive are these? I've not used any of this technology. How expensive is the cameras?
Well, the Reolink, £100.
That's it. So if you're using £100 and you've got, I don't know, 8 customers to go and see during the day.
I'll tell you who uses them. Mark Porter in London. Do you know Mark? Do you know Mark Porter? Porter's Pest Control.
Porter's Pest. Oh, yeah, I know. I've never met him, but I know of Porter's Pest Control. Yeah,
he does very well on. He uses Reolinks in a lot of his properties, houses, domestic job he does, and he does very well out of using Reolinks as part of his package with trapping. Because what he does is he does it where traps go off, the camera sees it, he sends someone out to retrieve the body, reset, and repeat. But he does quite well out of using Reolinks. I've not had great success out of actually selling the camera included with the 24-hour response. I haven't had, but I don't live in the kind of area that I'd probably get away with it in. But
that's it. It all comes down to the selling technique. If you can sell that up, you can make up your cost. But if you're paying out £100 a customer and you've got 8 customers to see that day, it means you've got £800 worth of equipment of these cameras.
But then you reuse them, can't you?
You can reuse them, of course. But it's just that initial outlay. And but if they're successful and they're giving the information that you need and you're catching animals, then great.
Yeah, but it's not. We have got 1 or 2, but it's not something. I'm not the best in selling, but I think Mark has got the gift of the gab, like yourself.
Yeah, I mean, selling. If people always want the best, you know what I mean? You can just say on the phone, you know, this is the best technology out there. You know, whatever it does, these cameras, what is it just doing? Is it identifying? Obviously, you set a trap up in front of it and identify the animals.
No, these Reolinks, they're not pest control. They're literally motion cameras, so you can just watch the camera. So it's not. So it's on a motion. So on your phone, it goes off as an alert. It may not be anything, but I think that's the way it's going to go eventually. Someone's going to come up with an AI version that will detect it. But most pest controllers use Reolinks. Yeah, they do.
Okay, and then it's probably, but then if you're in a small team, I'm going to play devil's advocate a bit, and I'm sure Mark would be on the other side of the fence. But then you've got to have someone monitoring the cameras. So the last thing I want to be doing is sat there at 9 o'clock at night while I'm down the pub having a beer, and then my phone goes off and go, oh look, Mrs. Smith has got a rat in her loft space. So whether it all goes back to a central system, which I'm sure it does, sort of. It
probably does.
Your CRM system. If it goes back to your CRM system and it leaves you an alert, and it tells you the customer, something's gone off on the camera. And in the mornings, you go through it, or with a fine tooth comb, you go dun dun dun. But I think that, in some ways that might, if it saves you going to the property to look at the traps, great. But if you still said you're going to go back next week anyway to look at the traps, the animal shouldn't have decomposed too much within sort of 5 or 6 day period. So, but yeah, it's all, I don't know, swings and roundabouts. But if it's working for someone, then, obviously I'd never knock it. And then I'd love to sort of speak to someone and go, right, if that's working for you and you're doing quite well out of it, I'd like to know what you're doing and how you're doing it. And it's not to sort of nick people's business, because I think we all say there's enough business to go around for everyone. Do you know what I mean? Especially in major cities. So you're not treading on anyone's toes. And if you can offer a better service and you can learn a better service, then great. But at the moment, it seems to work for us doing what we're doing. So
just stick to it. It's not something he's hidden. He actually talked about it on the Beauties and Beasties. He actually recommended that others can do it if they want. It's something they offer. Yeah, you know what I mean? He was on the Beauties and Beasties. He's coming on this podcast soon. He is as well.
I'll reach out to him and have a word, and I'll look at the Beauties.
I haven't met him in person, but he seems like a very nice guy. He does.
I'll see if I can catch up with him. I think I follow him on LinkedIn and that lot. But well, maybe that is the future. This sort of technology, cameras and things. But who knows? Everything's different. Everything's going to change in the next sort of 5 to 10 years anyway, I'm sure. So we'll see how it is. I mean, we've got electric vans now. Do you know what I mean? We don't pay congestion charge. We don't. Parking's a lot cheaper as well when we go into certain boroughs, and obviously, it's cheaper to charge it.
See, for you, that works. For us, electric wouldn't work. The countryside is not geared up for electric vehicles, and the amount of miles we do, we would be needing a charge pretty quick.
Exactly. The lads do around about. I think we do around about 40 to 60 miles a day, give or take, whatever the battery gives you. So, and charging it up costs, I don't know, 15, 20 pounds to charge it up. And that will give you whatever, 150 miles. So it works out cheaper. So that's what it just comes down to, being cost effective and ticking the box. Do you know what I mean? It helps sometimes. We say, we've got a fleet of electric vehicles, and people go, we'll buy into that, and it's not to do, and I'll be honest, it's not for us to go, we want to be green, we want to help the environment and all this lot, because no one knows whether carbon, what we're doing, the emissions of vehicles is causing harm to the environment. No one can 100% say, yes, that's what's causing global warming. We do it because businesses like to do it. We want a contract with Sony to look after their buildings in London because we were green and we were doing the right thing. Yes, so that sort of thing goes down well with certain major corporations, because everyone's trying to buy into this carbon neutral thing. So yes, if we play the game and keep them sort of corporations happy, then so be it. It might bring some work, but that's it. It's all about playing the game, as you know.
It definitely is. It definitely is. Now, I know we mentioned it at the start, but in case people haven't tuned into the start bit, you wrote a book, didn't you? I would show it on camera, but my camera's not working. Pest to Peace. It's a really good book. Right. It's got, like, you have your military stories, but then you link it to a pest control situation, and I really like it. I know it's meant for the public, but I actually like it. I've took a few notes actually on certain situations. I have.
I've written a book whilst I was working in the Middle East in private security, because you have a lot of time sort of, in the evenings. So I just wrote down all these stories that happened either when I was in the army, even when I was out on like an expedition somewhere, climbing a mountain and someone fell and whatever else. I wrote all these little short stories, and I thought one day I'll put them in a book. And then I was on a business course, and they said the best business card you will ever have is a book, because no one ever throws a book away. And when you're in a meeting, or you're with a high profile customer, or you're in a tender meeting, when you leave, just give them a book, because they're not going to throw it away and they'll remember you. So it's helped me out in some sort of tender meetings before. I've been up against the bigger names like Rent-A-Kill and things for hospital contracts. And I'll sit there in front of people, and then before I leave, they'll say, any more questions for us, Mr. Mosley? Any, I go, no, but I will just give all of you a book that I wrote about pest control. And, it goes down quite well. And sometimes, most of the time we win these contracts, which is lovely. And whether it's the book that helps, but it's just a good business card, because if someone's sat and they have a mouse run across their kitchen and they've got the book indoors, they'll go, right, where's the pest controller? We've got his book here. Right, call Mark up. So, so that sort of thing. So it's just a business card. It's the best business card that I'll ever have. So, I usually give it out to estate agents, letting agents, high profile clients. I give it out to most clients, to be fair, if I'm going around there and say, here's a book, I've signed it, job done. So I've got about 100 sat on my shelf, just waiting to go with a few, thank you for your custom, Mark. So, yes.
Nice. It's good. It's really good. It's I enjoyed it because it was like some of the hairy situations you're in. Then you would also compare it to certain pest control situations. Because there was, I read this one story in there where a lady had, I think it was carpet beetle, and she paid some big companies a lot of money, 4 or 5 treatments, I think you said. Then you went round and discovered that it got reinfested, and you went and looked in the hallway, and all the woolly bears were in the hallway, and that's why it was getting reinfested.
Yeah, it was a Waterloo penthouse. Yeah, it was a penthouse looking over Waterloo Station, half of London. It was an Asian girl from Japan, and she'd 4 or 5 heat treatments she'd had from the big boys, and I couldn't find anything in there. And I said, right, so where are you finding them? He said, I was always on this window, and then opposite this window was the door to the main part of the flat, this penthouse. And I knew I'd just walked through a load of carpet. So I was walked outside into the carpet, and all around the edges of the carpet was all the woolly bears. So is what they're doing. They're just obviously seeing the gap underneath the main door when they turn into adults, and then just flying towards that first bit of light they see, which is underneath their door, and she's finding them all on the windows. But she had 4 or 5 heat treatments. I know it was ridiculous. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, surely the people who have come around here going, you've got a few rugs, that's it. The clothing, couldn't see anything in the clothing as such. But they're always going to this one window. Why are they always being found on this one window or the one next to it? There's got to be something. So they're either in this room or in the vicinity of it. And there's no carpet. You just go to the next bit, and there's a big gap underneath the main door to this penthouse, leads to the corridor. And that was it. It was all in the corridors. And I sort of went down to the concierge down at the bottom. I said, oh, you've got all these carpet beetles up there. We can do this. We can do that. And he was we've got our own pest control company. We'll spray all the corridors. And I was like, oh, God. I said, all right, fair enough. So I just charged her a survey cost anyway. But hopefully it got sold. But there was nothing in her flat. But yeah, like I say, a company charged her heat treatment costs in the thousands, and it was just doing nothing.
Yeah, that's not good. It won't do if they're outside the door waiting to come back in.
Yeah, especially if they're putting heat shields around the main front door anyway. It was but this is what you see. You see companies doing this, and you think, blimey, I'd love to look at their books and see how much they're turning over a year.
Because when you think how much we charge for a domestic, and it ain't a lot, but then big boys charge 2, 3, 4 times the price. Sometimes.
I heard of a bird job. Yeah, we spoke about him at the beginning. There was a bird job that I won't say his name, but Rent-A-Kill charged another company. They quoted TfL, Transport for London. I think it was £111,000 for this bird netting. And then one of the lads went and did it. So they then subcontracted it to another company. And the subcontractor, he said to the TfL manager, blimey. The TfL manager said, he said, this has cost us £111,000. And the bloke was like, 111, and he'd only charged Rent-A-Kill 31.
Wow.
He was he was thinking himself, blimey. So Rent-A-Kill made obviously 90 grand or whatever else on it, or 81 grand on it. So it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So that's the sort of things. But once you're in them worlds, you charge these governmental agencies whatever you like, I suppose, within reason, and they trust you because you've got the name in the business.
That's true. It is. They've got that name, and that's what it is. It's they know how to sell as well. They do
exactly
on a bigger scale. They do, obviously. But Yeah, it's been a nice podcast, Mark. Thanks for agreeing to come on. It was nice of you. I know my camera's failed, but we're still talking. Mate. We are.
Yeah, that's the main thing. But thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And maybe I'll come on next year or something when you've got. You'll be live soon, like the Beasties and Beauties, and you'll have hundreds of thousands following your show.
We are live, Mark. No one's come in chat.
That's right. They'll come back soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Someone did say hello, but I think it's because I picked a Tuesday night and everyone's knackered from work. But
that's right. So you just break it down and do the fun bits now. See if you can do that.
Well, yeah. So yeah, thanks for coming on. Have you got anyone you'd like to have on the podcast, or anyone you'd like to see on this podcast as a guest? Anyone you know?
Yeah, why not try the bloke who got me into pest control, Michael Coates. He'll come on. I'm sure he'll come on. Mike Coates from Combat Pest Control. Reach out to him.
I will.
Because he got me into pest control, and he's a good lad, and yeah, he'd enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I will reach out. Is he on LinkedIn or is he not?
I'm sure he's on LinkedIn. Whether he uses it, he's certainly on Instagram. You'll probably see him doing Rambo pull-ups and things with a Rambo red headband on and things like this.
I'll have a look on there or Facebook. I will then for him. I will.
Yeah, have a look on Facebook or Instagram, Mike Coates, and just say Mark Mosley said you might want to come on or might want to come on for my podcast. It'd be great if you could come on. I'm sure he would. He's a good guy.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I'll give him a try. So. Thanks for listening, everyone. Now, if you're with the British Pest Register, you'll be able to register your CPD. So, an hour and a half. So, you'll be getting 1.5 points. And also, if you're with the BPCA self-register, you can self-register this podcast. And if you're with Basis Prompt, you can't get any points currently. I'm still waiting on that front. But if you want to help out the Beauties and Beasties this Friday, it's their 100th episode, and if you go on their Facebook page, they've got like a quiz for the 100th episode, and I'm not sure how it works, but they've got tons of companies giving prizes, from fly machines, from OptiCatch to mole traps to fleeces. There's literally people are donating prizes left, right, and centre. So. If you want to check them out, obviously to win a prize, you have to be watching live and interact with the show. Also, if you like podcasting, pest control, if you check out the PestGone podcast, my friends in America, Jenny and Candice, they had on some people that know a lot about ticks and Lyme disease. And I got seriously educated in that one, which I don't have a vast knowledge on ticks. Do you have a vast knowledge on ticks, Mark, and Lyme disease?
No, I've had a few ticks when I was in the military, but nothing in the lately, no.
No. Shaun Mooney says hello on LinkedIn. How you doing? He's finally made it at the end. But yeah, I've just shot. How did you appear when I'm promoting your podcast, Shaun? That's amazing. It's like your ears were burning.
I'll try and join in on Friday then to have a listen to the to Shaun's podcast.
Yeah, it's the 100th episode, and if you listen to Pest Control podcast as well, there's my good friends Jack and Brad from the Tales from the Crawl Space 2.0. That's always fun. That's a show basically, Mark, where they get stories from pest controllers or pest control owners, gruesome stories, funny stories, celebrity stories, but obviously they anonymise as some of the stories, obviously. But it's a fun show. It is, but it's not PG-13. Let's just say that their podcast is not.
What's it called? The Crawl Space.
Tales from the Crawl Space 2.0. It's a good show, but yeah, put it this way: one of them had to get to an apartment complex to do a job, and one of them followed the ambulance crew in, and he stepped over a dead body to get to a job.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So that's how crazy you're talking. You know,
all right, let's have a listen to them then. I'll have a listen I'll have a listen on Spotify or something, and I'll probably reach out to the guys.
Yeah, they're nice. They're nice guys. But I'll send you a link to their podcast if you want to listen on Spotify. I can send you links. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Mark.
No worries, mate.
I appreciate it, but I'll let you get on or go to bed or whatever you got to do now. But yeah, thanks for your time.
No worries, mate. Thanks for having me on, and I will speak to you soon.
Definitely. Right. Thanks, mate. See you all next week. All right, and thanks. Cheers. Bye. End stream. That's it.